All right, everybody. Hope you're having a heck of a good day. It's been a while since I've thrown that out. All right. We are going to get started today. So yesterday we spent some time learning about the conventions around dimensioning things. Like, what are the rules about how do you add dimensions to technical drawings so that anybody looking at your drawing can figure out how big each side is, or how big like a circle is, or an arc, anything where you need to add information that says the sizes of things. Those are called dimensions. And yesterday we went through the conventions around adding dimensions. So today we're going to get a little bit of practice doing that. And I'm going to go through one of them with you. You'll see that this assignment is posted on Google Classroom. So you can get to that in a little bit. But I'm just going to have you kind of go through one of them with me, so that you just get a feel for what it's like. And then the other ones are going to be due as an assignment. Okay. So I'm going to share my whole screen with you guys. So hopefully you see everything. All right, good. So I'm going to start off. The basic deal with this assignment is that you are going to be asked to just recreate these drawings and then add dimensions to them. And obviously some of them are super easy. Like this one is super easy, a little more challenging, and a little more challenging. This is the most challenging, obviously, of all of them. I'm going to start off just kind of doing this one. And so you'll see that these are small. I don't give you dimensions on any of these things. And so it's up to you to basically remake the shape, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm asking you to make something that looks basically proportionally like the one that I'm giving you. Okay. So if I'm looking at this shape right here, it's pretty easy to do. So if you think you can do it on your own, that's fine too. I'm just going to create something that looks basically like it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So there's a line that goes like that. There is a line that goes over some amount. How much does it go over? It goes over about that much. Maybe about that much. Then it comes down. And it comes down not quite halfway, so it goes down maybe down to like, I don't know, something like that. Then it goes over. It goes over, not quite as far over as the other one does. So we'll say it goes over maybe like that far. Then it comes down. And then all right. So the shape looks something like that. Is my shape perfect? No. If I'm looking at it now, this is a little too fat compared to what this one is, but it's basically close enough, right? Because yeah, what I'm really asking you to do is to take whatever drawing you've done and then dimension that yourself. So dimensions. So there's a couple of things that we talked about yesterday when you're doing dimensions, right? One is that they have to have extension lines that go out from the object itself, but that don't touch the object. So if I'm going to just like say how big this is right here, I'm going to put my pencil just a little bit away from the edge of the thing, make a line that goes straight up like this, put my pencil a little bit off the edge of the object, make another extension line. So those two lines are called extension lines. And now I have to measure how far that is. So I take my ruler and let's see, let's go here. And so I put my 0 point right there and measure it. It's almost 2. I'm going to say it is 1 15/16. It's a little bit less than 2. And this is divided into 16ths. And so this is 1 15/16. So I have to write 1 15/16. So as we learned yesterday, right, we have to write our numbers in a certain way, right? So I'm going to write my 1, and then I have to write my 15 over 16, okay? Now I have to make arrows that go all the way out to the edge over here and to the edge over here. And that's my first dimension. It's pretty easy, okay? Doing this one right here on the side is also pretty easy. So I'm just gonna make another little extension line, an extension line down here too, making sure not to touch the object itself. And then I have to measure it. So again, I measure it, and this one measures from here all the way up to there. It is almost exactly, and move it over so you can see a little bit. It is almost exactly 4, okay? So I'm gonna say this one is 4. I'm gonna write them in the same direction that I wrote this. I'm gonna write my 4 in the same direction that I wrote this, because remember, we don't wanna ever have to have somebody turn the paper if we can avoid that. And then just draw my arrows all the way up to the line, all the way up to the line, and that one's good too. Now, with this one right here, we have a couple of choices. If I'm trying to dimension how wide this is, we have a couple of choices. I could just make one all the way up here at the top that goes from here all the way to here. And that way, anybody who wanted to know could just look at the 1 15/16 and subtract that from my whole number. And that's pretty easy to do. Why don't I do that? Okay. So if I just extend this line up a little bit more, and now I can take this over here, extend this up all the way up to about here. And actually I need to make them slightly higher, just so I get it out of the way of that 1 15/16. All right, so gonna measure how wide is this whole thing. Goes from here over to there, which is 3, and that is 6/8, 3 6/8. So I'm gonna write that here, 3 6/8. Make my arrows. Okay, and now I know that this whole thing is 4. I could dimension this little part here, or I could just dimension this. If I just dimension this down here, then anybody can subtract whatever this is from 4 to figure out how long that is. That seems like the simplest, easiest thing to do. So I'm just gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna just draw dimension, extension lines over, and then extension lines over. Measure it. From there, from 0 to there is 2 6/8. 2, no. Did I do this wrong? I did. I messed that up. That is not 3/8. That is not 6/8. That is 6/16 or 3/8. My bad. So as I measure this one again, this is 2 3/8. So I'm gonna write 2 3/8. Make my arrows, and I'm done. Okay. If we're doing the circle part, there's a couple of things that that you need to remember. One is that circles have a little cross mark at the center of them to indicate that's the center of the circle. When you're doing these are called leader lines for when you're doing the dimensions for a circle or an arc shape, they should come up at an angle and then go over. And so then you would say, since this is a diameter, this is a whole circle, you would use this symbol to indicate that it's a diameter. Then you would measure whatever the diameter is. In this case, it is just doing it really fast. We'll just say it's 1 1/4. I don't really know what it is. It's roughly 1 1/4. For something that is not a whole circle, but just part of a circle, like in the real shape, this thing kind of comes down like this, and then it goes over and down, something like that. And then from here it goes over. But for this part of the circle, that's just the radius. You would do this and you would say R of whatever the radius is, and that one you would measure from the outer point down to the circle, and you would say radius of 1, something like that. Okay. So